Hey, I'm Josh. I'm one of the co-founders here at Midwinter Entertainment, and we are excited to be at EGX Digital and PAX Online to talk about our game Scavengers. We're having a technical playtest this weekend. We hope you'll check it out. If you want to sign up, you can go to playscavengers.com. So just to give you a little bit of history about the studio, we started Midwinter at the end of 2016. And then in 2017, we started working on Scavengers, which is our first game. And for Scavengers, we were really drawn to, we want to build amazing multiplayer experiences. We really love the idea of bringing together PvE and PvP into a unified session-based multiplayer experience. And as we've continued to build out the team from just the original founding four, our desire is to build a tight-knit team where everybody has a voice in what we're building together, and where we can have ideas and try them out in the game right there, that day. And that's kind of how we've been rolling ever since we set up the studio. So to give you a little bit of an overview of Scavengers, this is a free-to-play sandbox shooter that brings together a number of teams into a vast open environment. So in each session, we have 3-person teams, 20 of them, so 60 players total, that are dropping into a big open environment where they're having to contend with this hostile living world. So you're not just dealing with the threat of other players, but in our game, you're engaging in a series of missions and objectives that bring you into conflict with AI combatants. So you're dealing with these mutated life forms and wildlife that are on the planet's surface, as well as hostile tribal outlanders that are protecting different locations. And all the while you're trying to complete objectives and score points, you're coming into conflict with other players. It's a game that's based around a number of different characters. Each one of those characters has a distinct play style. They have their own unique class weapon and class ability that they can deploy in the battlefield. And it's really up to you, how you put those into play and use those to come out on top as you're dealing with all of the various different threats that you'll face within the world. So we're going to talk a little bit about Scavengers here today, but before we get started, I want to introduce the rest of our panel. So joining us from Midwinter, we have Mary, Kyle, Carlos, Audrey, Luke, Jeremy, Ben, Amanda, and Chase.
Welcome. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey. We're all here.
Yes, we are.
Well, now that we're all here, before we get into some community questions, which I know everybody's excited about, let's first watch the trailer. You guys want to watch the trailer again?
Let's do it.
Every single time, honestly.
I'd like to see it.
All right, we'll roll the thing.
When the asteroid struck, it remade our world. Your mission today shall not be easy. You won't go alone to the surface. In fact, I'm sending many teams. Collect the data I need. Take it if you must. Protect it if you can. The storms that plague this world are dangerously cold. Warmth will be essential to your survival.
Another day in paradise.
I've located several sites that warrant investigation. You'll need food to keep your stamina up. Arm yourself and scavenge whatever supplies you may find.
That's what I'm talking about.
Looks like we've got competition.
Let's do that again sometime.
I really don't get tired of seeing that. Do you guys?
Not at
I get
all.
hyped.
Yep.
I get little
I've watched
the
it
hairs.
3 times.
You watched it too many times. Well, okay, before we get into these community questions, I just want to first give a shout out to our awesome community. Take this opportunity to say thank you so much for following us for this whole journey that we've been on. Thank you for play testing, giving out a bunch of feedback. It's been great to have you along for the ride throughout the development of this whole game. So thank you very much to our community. Everybody, thank you. We'll do a mini applause.
Thank you so much.
Woo. Okay, so let's get into some of the community questions because we have a bunch of them. And I'll start us off with a pretty easy one, I think, for Josh. Josh, are you ready?
Ready.
Okay. So you might have heard this question before, but what is the biggest difference in going from working at 343 to starting your own studio?
Wow, biggest difference. I mean, there's so many differences. I think, one of the reasons that we founded Midwinter was to get back to smaller scale game development, where everybody that's on the team, you talk to everybody every day. You have people who are building things all across the game where they're not super specialized in one particular area. And collaboration happens all the time. So I don't know, the biggest difference is got to be just size, and that's very intentional. When I left 343, my team there was probably 450, 500 people. And the team at Midwinter, we've grown a lot since we first started the studio. But we're about 40 people, as a core team. And that makes a huge difference. So I know everybody and I talk to everybody on the team every day, and I love that.
Yeah, I do like that too. I love the connection we all have. It's so nice, right? Everybody?
It's true.
They all agree with me.
Oh,
Lovely.
I was just silenced for a minute. What?
Just awkward silence.
That might happen again in this show. Jeremy, you have a question.
Yeah, so we saw some awesome Scourge monstrosities in the trailer. If for some weird reason you were trapped on the planet and somehow turned into a Scourge monstrosity, which would you want to turn into?
I'll go with the wretch because I like the jumping and the jumping and the spinning. That's my thing. That's my jam. I like to jump and
Jumping and spitting.
Jump and spit.
When we worked in the office, it was just Josh.
That's all he did.
spitting all
He just
over.
jumped and spit in the office.
We can't.
Sounds
We
very
have to
messy.
social distance now.
I'm kind of glad we're not in the office because then we have him doing that all the time.
Yeah, that's not good.
That's a good answer. Who else had questions?
So we have a community question. This question I also find hard to answer. Is Scavengers a battle royale game?
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean that. So the reason I'm inhaling, I've had these conversations and actually had a major debate with Angel 18 months ago as we were building the first playable for Scavengers. And I think number one, it comes down to what is a battle royale? For me, a battle royale is a game mode that involves a large number of players, let's say 50 to 100 players, in a big open environment where those players are competing to eliminate everybody else and be the last person standing. I mean, that's sort of literally where battle royale came from as an original inspiration from the Japanese movie. And then you can add in, there's other known mechanics like the circle mechanic of constricting circles, forcing all the people together to get to that elimination moment at the end, finding, randomized weapons and things in the environment. So I think, if you look at it strictly through the lens of at least what I've defined a battle royale to be, no, it's not a battle royale because it's not an elimination focused game. But it does have a lot of aspects that it shares in common with battle royales.
I definitely feel the same, and mainly because you don't have to be the last team standing. You can still get off and make progress and be the winning team and not have killed anybody in the match.
Yeah.
It's hard to do, but it is possible.
I did it last week.
Yeah.
It felt really good, but it was pretty touch and go.
In quarantine, Josh, have you picked up any awesome new skills or things that you're doing to entertain yourself while stuck mostly at home?
Sorry, the first part is that have I picked up any like new skills while being?
Yeah, or everyone's got their quarantine hobby that they just started doing. What's yours?
Yeah, mine is to look at whatever Jeremy's making for a cocktail and try to emulate that, because he's always posting the most delicious cocktail recipes in Slack. So yeah, I would say I've done way too much personal cocktail management over the quarantine period.
That's funny. I too have picked up drinking.
Common pursuit right now.
Hey, if it's in fancy cocktails, it's an art. It's like artistry.
It's true.
Like,
It's true.
Should do per character cocktails and put those out on their social media.
Ooh, that's
Yes.
I mean,
That's
that
we can make a
sounds
book.
fantastic.
Jeremy, you're our mixologist. You need to come up with a cocktail.
More work for you, but
Hey,
you
Oh, I got it. No, that's
you don't have
fine.
anything else to do.
Can somebody
Yeah.
make a Jira ticket for me? That'd be great. Appreciate
Okay,
it.
done.
So another community question: who is your favorite character to play and why?
Well, I think it's a good thing. Is that I was going to say, like, my favorite character has changed a number of times. Like for quite a while, I was playing Tarek, the sniper, and I love having the ability to play that long range style. But my current favorite is Cruz, because I love the ability to use his speed boost, Tailwind, and the fact that lets me move quickly, but also Tailwind leaves like a trail of energy behind Cruz as he runs, and his teammates can kind of slipstream into that and gain a movement boost as well. And I like that. I like being able to kind of like lead my team towards a particular location and have everybody kind of benefit from that speed boost. And then he's also got a sweet SMG that lets me tear people apart, probably because it's not quite balanced right now. So at least, yeah, his more powerful variant is it's pretty high damage output at the moment.
I think as a fellow cruise main, one of my favorite things is being able to kind of like be a resource gatherer as well. Like you can break off and go find some ammo, get your team some scrap, find some food, steal another team's vehicle if you've got the skills to do so. So I think that he adds like this other cool support aspect that normally like a fast-paced character isn't usually built around, which I think is awesome.
I think Jeremy's stolen my car at least 12 times already.
Probably
I
my
know,
favorite
on the
thing.
lookout.
It's fun.
He's so sneaky. I snuck a kill out from somebody who'd been downed from another team. I finished the guy and stole the resources and ran away.
I like to find somebody's vehicle and then take it down till it's like one shot, and then try to draw them out and then take it out just as they get on board, because it's like the ultimate grief move.
Insidious. That's all that.
Why my vehicle keeps exploding every game?
Yes, Kyle.
Okay, moving on. Let's go to the next question.
So here's a community question. What's the craziest moment you have slid into while playing the game?
That I've slid into? I don't know. I love sliding. So slide is one of our kind of core traversal mechanics in the game. Allows you to gain speed while you're going down slopes. Allows you to conserve energy because you're not draining stamina while you're sliding. So I slide pretty much anywhere that I can, and I've had some pretty crazy moments where I've slid into. I've had times where I've slid into like a pack of wolves, and that has not ended well for me because I've gone flying off of a ledge down into an area. I've also slid into like a two-way team fight and managed to clean up some of the weaker players, which feels pretty cool. But I don't know if there's like specific moments, just that I love sliding.
You just talk about how cool it is to get kills as you're sliding.
Yeah.
Just like as you're just like going down the hill.
Doing a
Feels
bow
so
shot
good.
sliding down the hill, you get that Legolas feeling going on. Oh, it's so fun.
It's so
Big
good
shields.
for flanking in PvP too, because nobody expects someone just sliding down the hill behind them.
No, yeah, totally. Like there's times where people try to run away to try and heal up when they're low, and you can chase them down and slide down behind them, firing away at them, and it feels really sweet when you pull that off.
I think a lot of my crazy moments come with the bears because, it just, they introduce so much chaos and you're like, okay, this is happening now.
I love the wildlife. Like my favorite moments have involved the wildlife. Getting attacked by multiple terrifying animals. Great moment.
Didn't you
Even
get
though you're
attacked by
dying.
2 bears today?
I did. I
You're
respawned and there were bears right behind me and I immediately died again.
2 bears.
I still loved it though, because bears.
I love luring the bears into AI camps, and I kind of feel like Mother Nature's on my side as the bears just wreak havoc amongst all my foes. It's a pretty good time.
I've had a lonely Jay kite a bear into one of the infected bears into our team, and then just peace out. And we had to deal with this infected bear now, which is, if you haven't played the game, is a pain to deal with.
I might have done that.
There's been encounters where the Scourge bears, our design team loves to grief all the other players, it would seem. We have a handful of them in here. I'm sure they can attest to that. But we were in an encounter and the Scourge bear popped out. The Scourge were there. And then all of a sudden the team in a vehicle comes flying into the middle of the encounter and throwing grenades everywhere. And it's just the mix of different factions all at once with players creates some of the most chaotic, fun moments.
Okay, let's move on to the next question. This one is from Kyle.
We love to mention that the community has been a big part in our development process, but I think people would love to know in what ways are we involving our community in that?
The community's been huge in our development. We started testing Scavengers with a small community early in 2019, like pretty much right after we got the game into a reasonably playable state, when it was still not optimized, tons and tons of bugs, but we're able to bring people in, get the game in front of them, and then take their feedback and see what are the things that are working, what are the things that are not working. So we've really tapped into the community in a bunch of different ways. Like, obviously we have our social media channels, we have our Discord. That's awesome. That's a great source of feedback. But right within the game client itself, like, as you're playing the game, we have the opportunity for players to give us feedback. Let us know, how did they enjoy that last session? What are the top things that are bugging them? What are the things that they, most enjoyed today? And then after every playtest, we take all of that information, we kind of boil that down along with a ton of just data that we're collecting all the time about, where are people getting kills? Which weapons are more powerful than others? Are there spawn sites within the session that are out of balance and are allowing players to more quickly level up or gain points? So like for a relatively small team like ours, especially building a 60 player experience, it would be really, really difficult, if not impossible, to get the kind of quality feedback that we've got through our community throughout this process, especially at the scale that we want to run the game. So we owe a huge thank you to our community for all of the feedback and all the energy that they brought to the game. We just couldn't do it without you. So thank you so much.
We have a question from the community. So a question on everyone's mind: will the game be coming to console?
So right now we're developing the game as a cross-platform title. So all of our playtests at the moment are on PC, but we definitely are planning to bring the game to console and enable cross-platform play because we love console. Many of the people on the team come from a console development background, and that's been something that we've been excited about from the beginning.
So there's your answer. All right, let's move on.
Moving on.
We have a question from the community for you. So when we do our internal playtest, we tend to have a lot of players in the lobby, and folks are wondering how many players are we going to support when we are actually live?
How many total players do we want to support? As many players as possible. We support you, and I just want you to know, like, however many players that want to come to this, like, we will support you. We support players.
Everybody's welcome.
Yeah, everybody's welcome. Or do you mean in a single session? In a single session, we will support only 60 players. The rest of the players are on their own, but 60 can be in a single session. Outside of a session, we'll support all of you because we're supportive and we want to be supportive.
It's a weird
Josh
answer.
needs a fan.
Thank you.
Play Scavengers.
Play Scavengers. PlayScavengers.com.
PlayScavengers.com. Moving on. So we have Amanda asking a community question.
I already talked about how much I love the wildlife, but what are the main survival aspects of the game?
Well, so it is definitely survival light. Like, you know, for anybody who's played a hardcore survival experience, that's not this. Where, you know, we have some core survival systems that are part of the game, but they're within the context of a session-based multiplayer, competitive multiplayer experience. So in the game, we have a couple of systems. We have a body temperature system where because the environment is so cold and we have these roaming pockets of storms that present the threat of these really intense cold zones. If you allow your body temperature to drop too low, that will actually start to freeze over your health meter, and that will eventually lead to you dying and freezing to death. We also have a stamina or energy system. And so for any athletic moves that you do within the game, if you're jumping, you're dodging, you're mantling, you're sprinting, those all take energy. And over time, your energy will diminish and it replenishes to a point, but it gradually goes down in terms of your energy reserve. And the way you get that back is by eating food. And food can be found by scavenging, looking in different locations for food things, from hunting, and also gathering berries and things like that within the environment. But as I said, these are fairly light survival systems that make sense within the context of a competitive experience.
Yeah, when I first started playing, I was really happy to find it wasn't as intense as like Ark, because coming from a pretty hardcore Ark player, that can get pretty punishing.
It's crazy how they like just tie in kind of our game as a whole. Like I was chasing Kyle, I think in our playtest today, and I was like, man, I just want to shoot Kyle, but I knew that I was so cold that if he turned around and fired back, I wouldn't have had like the health reserves to be able to survive. So I like intentionally pulled back from attacking him when I could have probably normally, if I was full on heat, taking him out. But it was really cool.
That's just my natural intimidation factor, Jeremy. You're just so scared to fight against me that your character became cold in the game.
You're giving him chills. Okay, that's not what's happening. Okay. Did anybody have any other survival stories?
Well, and I think the other thing, like I'm talking specifically about, I guess, the systems and mechanics that relate to survival, but the other big part of survival in our game is the hostile environment that you're dealing with. So, Amanda's talking about bears and the threat of bears, and you've got wolves and you've got infected bears that are super scary and terrifying. And all of those things are coming into play along with the Scourge and the Outlanders. So, you're having to survive all of those things while staying warm, while staying fed, while contending with other players. So just making it out of a session of Scavengers is it's an accomplishment.
And the wildlife is scary, but not as scary as the storms. I mean,
storms are so scary.
Those things coming on you, and you might be driving along and you just can't see anything anymore. All the fires are put out. So if you're already cold, good luck. Get out of the storm.
You can see one coming and you're just looking for cover or someplace where you can hopefully not die during the storm when they're the higher storms. Definitely spend time worrying about that whenever I know one's on the way.
I think the scariest experience I've had is being in a storm and the fires are all out and then you hear the roar of a bear and you can't see it and you know it's coming for you and you just have to run.
Yeah, I don't think I've played another game where the storms are so intense, and so it's really awesome. We have another question from the community. This one is, what kind of player progression can we expect?
You know what? I'm probably not the right person to ask, but you have Ben on the line. He's designing our progression system, so he can talk probably a little bit about the research metagame that we're building into the game.
Yeah. So I mean, there's kind of two stages of progression. The first one is just in the match. You're going to have your kind of a little bit of progression there that's per match. So you'll find yourself leveling up and be able to craft some survival tools, new weapons, and cool stuff like that are going to benefit you as you go through. But then as you're playing the match, you're going to be finding resources, not very much because you have to get back off planet, that you get to take back with you. And those be used to research new technologies, research new weapons, items, new gear, as well as a whole bunch of cool cosmetic stuff that you're going to be able to take in, and whether you feel like you need it to be a more powerful player, or if you feel like it's going to just make you look better, because I think those are equally valid options here. That's going to be a big part of it. And so the research system is pretty cool, built on that very scavenging experience. We're looking to add other cool progression systems too. We're planning on, keeping this thing going for a long time. And so, we have a lot of good ideas, but those are going to be coming online much later. So should be fun.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, one thing I'll just add on that, like Ben talked a bit about the in-session progression. And I think what's cool about that is it gives you the sense of leveling up and building your character within each game. But what Ben was talking about unlocking new weapons and gear and things, those you can put into your loadout for the session, and within the game you can craft a number of things. You sort of get to a certain level within a session, which unlocks the ability to craft a particular weapon or upgrade or item. And then you're also gathering scrap, which is the core resource that you use to build those things. And it's those two kind of checks and balances that offset some of the more powerful weapon variants that you can unlock and build into the game. So you could decide to bring in the more powerful version of Valora's shotgun, for example, which does a little bit more damage, has a higher ammo reserve. But if you do that, you're not going to be able to craft it until later in the match, and it's going to cost more resources to craft. And so those are kind of a couple of areas where we balance that choice and potential greater power within the session, so that you're not just unlocking something that's more powerful, coming in and wrecking shop from go.
Another community question for you. Taming bears, yes or no?
Yeah, so that's interesting because we kind of had this in the game at one point. I actually implemented this myself, where you could, at one point you could summon a bear. I think you threw a piece of meat or something, and it was one of the abilities that I was prototyping, and you could summon a bear called Jellybean. Is that right?
Yeah, it was Jellybean.
Yeah, Jellybean.
Yeah, and then Jellybean would come and follow you around and fight on your behalf. So anytime you weren't in combat, Jellybean would just be sort of like following along behind. And then if there was someone threatening you in some way, then Jellybean would go and attack. It was kind of cool. It was kind of fun. We pulled it out because it had a bunch of problems and it didn't really fit the sort of player fantasy that we were going for with the characters. So yeah, I don't know about taming bears.
Okay, I have a last question from the community, and it's another one that's kind of ridiculous, but I would like to see it myself. It's the obvious question that no one has answered yet. Can we throw snowballs in the game, Josh?
One day.
One day.
Like, that's the dream, right? Is to be able
It's not hard to do, eh? Like, it's pretty easy.
I'm making you an honorary Canadian for that, eh?
It just pops out sometimes. Jeremy was nodding his head no, it's very hard. Snowballs are hard?
Yeah, it's one of those things that's like, no, it's a snowball. It's fine, when in actuality it's like this massive feature that is
it snowballs.
It's big.
It's so everything's a little bit more work than it seems on its surface. But I would love to have snowballs. Like when you're unarmed and you're running around, if you could like pack a little snow and then use that to draw the bear. You could draw the bear.
All right, hear me out. You're sliding, you stick your hand out, you build like this big snowball, and at the end of your slide you can like lob it. Done.
I love it.
That's a great idea.
The snowballs could stun people though, right? So it could just stun them for a minute, and that gives you a chance to do a melee attack with a halberd?
What if I could throw a snowball at a bear, and then when the bear turns around, my character can point to an outlander. thereby I've tamed the bear, and we've killed 2 birds with 1 stone at that point.
With
We
one
did it.
snowball.
Oh, very good.
Oh, nice.
Very good.
So good.
On that note, I think we're going to end it. Thank you, everybody, for asking questions. Thank you to the community for asking them. We want to make sure that you know there's a playtest. And by the time you see this, it'll probably be like the next day or 2. So go sign up at playscavengers.com. Josh, do you have an outro to this? Awesome
Everybody
moments?
can play. Go sign up, play the game, give us your feedback, let us know what you think, help us out. We love getting feedback from everybody. So yeah, everybody can play. Just go to playscavengers.com and we'll see you in the game.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, remember, goodbye.
Y'all come back now here.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.
That's
Cascade.